Boys.
Vipi?
Budo uko poa?
Niko fiti bana.
Unajua hii Kenya yetu imekuwa na very many decisions in the recent past. Decisions.
Yeah, decisions nazo ni mingi. Yeah, in Kenya, worldwide. We've had decisions.
Very many decisions. For example, kumekuwa na unajua very many names that were called out.
Names.
A lot of individuals.
Yeah.
Yes. Pia kumekuwa na this very long march. Happening in the month of March.
Okay.
You know?
All right, yeah.
Pia unajua kumekuwa na uko the North Rift. Very many decisions happening there as part of the internal security.
Yeah, pia tukiongea kuhusu North unajua ni upwards. Arsenal. Pia iko na decision yenye imemake yenye
ya kushinda
ya maintain
number one.
Yeah.
In fact I think the reason why Arsenal is at the top of the table is because Professor Kithure Kindiki is deploying Arsenal in the North Rift, so they have to keep up.
The Arsenal that is being used.
That's the Arsenal being used because there's no failure this time.
Okay, brother, can you just go to the decision that you want to talk about, please?
Please don't catch feelings.
Siwezi catch. Mtu akipigwa saba tunaonenga
sasa. Nani umse?
Acha hata hiyo saba yenu hatuwezi waonea huruma. Acha tuone Dandora.
My goodness. This season is going to be
a tough one.
Yes, a tough one. But I wish you all the best in the remaining games.
Thank you.
Yeah. Moving forward. Swiftly.
Yeah.
More serious matters.
Yeah.
This decision was made by the Supreme Court. Very recently about this very controversial case about the LGBTQ community and the challenge they had experienced in getting the NGO Coordination Board to reserve their name for an NGO that they wanted to form with a human rights agenda. What really happened and where did this all begin?
Okay, so the process actually began in 2013, where this guy called EG, according to the court, went to the NGO Coordination Board and needed to have an organization formed, and so he started the process at the reservation. So what happens when you go to register an NGO, you start at name reservation stage, where you give a number of names, sana 3 or 4, and then now the board decides, chooses a name and then picks, and then now you continue to the registration now. So they were at the reservation stage, where they gave around 4 names, but in all the 4 names, the words gay and lesbian human rights appeared. So it had gay and lesbian human rights observancy, human rights commission, human rights. But at every in all the names, gay and lesbian human rights appeared.
Consistent.
Yes. Yeah. And so the NGO Coordination Board sent them a letter and told them we can't pick any of the names because we consider that according to section 162, 163 and 165 of the Penal Code, it criminalizes gay and lesbian sexual interactions. So for that reason, they said we won't consider reserving
any name for you. Okay.
Yeah.
So they proceeded from that and went to the High Court and eventual Court of Appeal, and where it landed the Supreme Court. And there was a tussle at the onset, and I think at each stage it has been a ground of appeal when there's an appeal about whether the things would have been different if the decision not to allow them to proceed would have been made at the registration stage and not at the reservation stage. And what was that about?
So at the High Court, when EG took the matter to the High Court, one of the issues that were being determined was whether it was whether the court had the jurisdiction to listen to the matter. Now, the reason why I'm saying this is because, according to the NGO Act, Coordination Act, it gives a provision for it's like an alternative dispute resolution.
Yeah.
Where you
internally.
Internally, where you can, if at the registration process, your name, or rather at the registration process, if the organization in itself is not formed, you're not allowed to form it. You can actually apply to the minister and be heard through that channel.
Yeah.
And so, according to the NGO Coordination Board, they said this guy had an opportunity to
exercise internal
the internal mechanisms that were there. But the court found out that the process that EG was at the reservation stage. He hadn't gotten to the registration process. So, and according to the Act, it does not give any provision on what to do if your name
is rejected
at that stage.
Okay.
So he had no other option but to go to court.
Okay. Yeah. So after resolving this technical issue, now they went into the substantial issues, which were whether the LGBTQ community had the right to associate, and this and hence they had actually been discriminated against by the NGO Coordination Board by the rejection for the name reservation, and they went into a couple of issues, whether they had the right, whether there was discrimination, and whether there was actually a limitation to exercise the right of association, which was being pushed by the NGO Coordination Board. And how did the court think about this?
So under the Constitution, Article 36 of the Constitution, it speaks of freedom to association and form an association of your choice. So it says every person has a right to associate and or form an association of your choice. So what the court decided on this was that it didn't matter. Your sexual orientation didn't matter. Your gender didn't matter. For as long as you're in Kenya and you're living in Kenya, you have a right to form an association.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And yes. And then they also spoke about Article 27 that speaks clearly on discrimination. And they clearly explain that because of this reason, then the NGO Coordination Board actually discriminated EG.
Okay. So, and the one of the grounds the NGO Coordination Board was putting across for the and as a basis for the decision that they reached was that the actions that, or the orientation of the LGBTQ community would have meant that it would have meant that by associating, the kind of conduct that they would be promoting was conduct that has been outlawed, or conduct that has been held in the law to be criminal offenses. So concerning this item, what did the court think? So now at the Supreme Court, they were very clear in terms of explaining sections 162, 163 and 165. Actually the court, from High Court to the Supreme, something that was clear to them was that when it comes to a criminal issue, in law, when we talk about a criminal matter, we give what we call ingredients of the acts. So if according to section 162 and 163, 165, it speaks of an act that is against the order of nature.
So it says any person who engages in an act that is against the order of nature is liable to a criminal offense. So what that means is that you need to have an ingredient. So you need to find or get evidence that this person actually committed
the offense.
You see.
So it can come before. The condemnation or the liability cannot come before.
So what the court expressed was that it felt like we are defeating justice by saying, by these guys, by EG forming an association, they have already committed the act. So the court said you're now giving an assumption because we deal with evidence, and it's now you don't deal with before the fact, but after
the fact. Otherwise, it would be an arbitrary decision.
Yes.
Yeah. So now, moving from that now basis and clearing how the court cleared the issue. Of course, at various stages from the Court of Appeal to the Supreme Court, there was a majority and a dissenting view.
Yes.
But there were some positions on the side of the NGO Coordination Board and also on some dissenting judges concerning now this moral conversation. The aspect of the cultural standard and the moral code being eroded. The attack on the family and the marriage institution being evident of moving on, being more manifest. And on this aspect, what are some of the observations or some of the arguments or even decisions, basis of the decisions of the judges?
So according to now the Supreme Court, all the judges actually spoke to this, and they said they needed to make it very clear that the issue at hand had nothing to do with decriminalizing same-sex actions or legalizing same-sex marriages. It had nothing to do with that, because according to them, they were dealing with an individual who wanted to form an organization, and that's all. But what they explained and expressed was power belongs to the people. This conversation would not be exhaustive if it stayed at the Supreme Court level. Why? Because the work of the judiciary is to interpret the law as it is.
So they are custodian of the Constitution and the law.
Yes, and the law as it is. So this is they say this is what the Parliament passed. This is what you as Kenyans agreed upon. This is what we will use. But concerning these elements of morality in itself, in its broader view, they brought it back. They brought the conversation back to us to say, you guys, you have a role to play here. Either you want to go the Parliament way, you want to go the referendum way. The power belongs to
the
you.
people to
we
exercise
cannot speak
this.
to that.
Okay. And specifically concerning these actions that have been outlawed in the penal code, and of course even in basically in the law, these actions and also the same-sex marriages. The offense that has been indicated there, the person who has been considered as a perpetrator has not. What does it say? Does it say it's somebody with a sexual orientation that is akin to the LGBTQ community, or is it any Kenyan or any person or any individual? What is the language?
So according to the section, it says any person. Any person who engages. So the court expressed this clearly and said that the act in itself does not really focus on the homosexual, does not really focus on the gay and lesbian, but focuses on every individual. So even a heterosexual, meaning someone who's attracted to the opposite gender, can actually
be found guilty
of this offense.
And they are actually a potential offender in case they could be a possible offender.
They
don't
could
really
be.
have to
anyone at this point.
So basically, to try and distinguish these issues, the court tried to distinguish these issues. The issue of the
identity,
the unlawful offenses, the rights that are protected, who is covered under those rights, being all persons. And if you're to cut short people, you're to limit the coverage of people, there would have to be a law that actually provides that.
In fact, a good example would be the example of the Mungiki Association, which actually formed an organization. But then during Michuki's era, at some point, they were outlawed. Why? Because they started engaging in activities that were considered illegal. You see, so now at that point, now back to the law. The law would limit the association if at this level, if at the very level that they start engaging in the activities are considered illegal. The conduct that they engage in are considered illegal. Then it would be outlawed.
Yes. Then there would be a reason to actually now even prevent or interfere with the association and the right to associate.
Exactly.
Okay. Now moving actually from this discussion, having considered all these aspects of the association, of the moral and the cultural code, and now we are saying that this conversation, according to the judges, and even from the analysis of the judgment, there is a role to be played by the court, which is as a custodian of the constitution and the law, interpreting what exists. Now there is a part to be played, both from the aspect of, do you want to make your law robust? Do you want to cover, if you are offended by some of the pronouncements of the law, then there are channels to be exercised, where even rights now can be exercised, of either seeking representation through parliament to get some laws passed, or possibly even at an individual level. I don't know whether you would want to cover anything concerning this, because from my standpoint, I think there's also a role to be played by individuals to protect the code, the moral code, at an individual level, because some of these offenses are individual based. I mean, the person, it's personal, it's not a group. So you don't have to associate to engage in some of these offenses. And if you're to protect your children, your family, your marriage, then it would have to be from an example basis. You show the right moral standard to be set. You set the right cultural standard. You have the right conversations. I think one of the biggest challenges, and I want Kevin that you comment about this, is, are we reacting from this judgment to a subject or a topic that we ought to have started discussing a long time ago, and we have not had the courage or the boldness to bring this conversation out with the people whom we are worried or afraid that they are going to be influenced by this orientation and behavior.
It's good you asked that question, because something interesting is, I think it was around 2013 or 2014 thereabout, our former president, Uhuru Kenyatta, was asked about LGBTQ. It was an international news anchor who asked the question. And the question was, considering how Kenya is growing and moving in a direction that seems positive in a worldly nature, are we in that space where we can actually allow same-sex marriages? And he explained and said, this is not an issue for us. This is not an issue to us. And just last year, the now current president, Ruto, was asked the same question, and he gave the same answer and said, this is not a priority for us. And at that point, I thought the right answer, okay, maybe considering as a country where we are at, there are issues that the government will consider and say, this is not really a priority according to what we are facing and what we are going through at this moment. But it can be one of the priorities, either number 10, number 11, from a social angle,
community.
Yes. It can be. And one of the reasons why I felt people are running away from this conversation is the fact that even sex in itself is an issue to talk about. Just going out there and engaging and speaking about sex in itself
is a challenge.
I
think there are people who are
right now. I've just mentioned it twice, and then someone who's like, "We get the point, brother. Can you just move on?"
We got it. You don't have to say it again.
Yeah, you don't have to say it. So how much more talking about same sex? Engagements. You get my point.
I get your point, Kevin.
But it opens us up to a place where it's hard, it's tough, but it's a conversation that we now need to have so that we can avoid reacting, so that we can be proactive. That's the issue for us.
I agree with you. So basically, we are saying that the ship has begun sailing.
Yes.
And we just need to find a way to stabilize ourselves on this. The waters are rough, and we ought to have started acclimatizing to these conversations early enough, so that our children can have an understanding of the kind of moral and cultural foundations, behavior or character that we want to entrench in our society. So it means this is a start of a conversation or conversations that should be had
Yes.
at the family level, at,
Yes.
at the marriage level,
Yeah.
at the community level,
Yeah.
you know, at schools,
Yeah.
at the various people should actually step into mentorship positions
Yes.
to actually speak about the right culture
Yeah.
and the right behaviors.
Yeah.
And I agree with you, totally agree with you. And I think the last point is now that a lot of reactions came from the basis of faith.
Yes.
And as believers, I know there are Muslims watching, Hindus and all, and there are all kinds of beliefs and faith out there. And they came to a converging point of understanding and saying, this is not in accordance with our faith.
Yes.
And as Christians, and I just want to make this as a passing comment, this is a very sensitive conversation. It needs to be held at the very at the proper level. But now that we have this platform, and I think as believers we ought to look at how our own Bible, how our teacher and our savior and our leader handled the aspect of bringing those who are in the dark into the light, winning them over from the darkness into the light, and showing a good example to them, and correcting, chastising in love and not condemning. And I think there's substantial examples about this. And so for us believers, we need to think about how to do this right. On all angles. On the angle of winning them over, on the angle of leading others to the light, but also on the other angles of entrenching moral code, entrenching the right culture, and also asking our leaders to consider whether it's high time, if we are offended, to consider the right law that is going to protect our future. I don't know whether that is actually a position that...
it's a good position, because what that means is we are now being proactive. It has everything to do with understanding the issue at hand and seeing a better way on how to engage with the issue. You get my point?
I understand.
Yes.
Makes
so
sense.
that for both the Christian, the Muslim, the Hindu, we all should be at a point where we can agree or agree to disagree on some issues. You get my point? But have a candid conversation that is actually informative
and building.
So that if we choose as a country we want to go the legislative way on this matter, we are all going that way with an informative decision, knowing clearly well the consequences of those actions and what we're trying to build even as a country.
Yes. So we need to stop being reactive. Calm down, settle down, think this through, and be proactive.
Be proactive. Be proactive. Be engaged. Because, like we said, this case started in 2013, went to 2015, to this point.
So we are reacting 10 years later.
We are reacting 10 years later. While a case started so many years back, and the information that the court is giving is from the Constitution, is from law.
Existing law.
Throughout the term. So what the court is just trying to tell us is, you can actually change the law if you want to. Just look at how we've argued out these points and see the best way to move forward.
Makes sense. Well, guys, I think there you have it for now. This is a conversation that should keep going on. It's a start. Have these conversations at the right places. It's possibly an awakening that if you've not been spending time with the people whom you want to protect from certain choices, life choices, such as the one that was in the subject of the judgment, then it's probably a time when you need to now come close and show the right way, the right character and the right behavior. And I think the other thing is that have these conversations, and you can start by actually expressing your right of expression by liking this video. You can put a comment. That's also exercising the right of expression.
You have all the freedom.
There's
no discrimination here.
And actually, you can actually sit and watch this video several times with your friends. And you can have the right to associate
and discuss.
You don't even have to register for that one. Maybe just Instagram.
We don't need to reserve any name for that.
Maybe YouTube. I think you need to have a YouTube account so that you can subscribe and you can like and share and follow on Instagram. But for now, those are our submissions. and also our 2 cents
from two gents.